had awarded the 25 grades. I think that from this 25, I have worked with 13 of them. And I was like looking at them in terms of, hey, why he succeeded, what he did. He put some more effort, he put some more reading, he put some more sleepless nights. I can do that. If he did that, why not me?
At some point, one year, you coached Spanoulis, Diamantidis, Saras, Mike Baptiste, like 4 legends now of the game. Did you see the greatness on a daily basis?
When I walk to the streets of Greece and somebody stops me, he says, you know, coach, like we became Panathinaikos fans because of that team.
It's very interesting you speak about, the format of the EuroLeague. Do you think this is going to be the next step for the EuroLeague to really unite everything from
100%.
The basketball court to the media rights, TV rights, everything?
100%. I'm very optimistic. Basketball, I think, is really downrated in terms of the incomes that the owners should have had. I'm dreaming when EuroLeague will become 30 teams.
Really?
Why not?
Coach Itoudis, thank you for being here. Welcome on the podcast. It's a very big pleasure and honor to have you here. So thank you. Our first question is, after so many years of coaching, who inspired you the most?
First of all, thank you for having me. Thank you for the invitation. Great setup.
Thank you.
Great location.
Thank you.
Me, the best hotel in the town.
Thank you.
What inspires me the most? The game itself.
Mm-hmm.
And the involvement you have, the new stuff, the not predicted stuff that's happening in the game. Like you might be prepared, but it's not only you. The other coach also had prepared a lot of stuff. The unknown happening within the seconds, then you have to react. So there are a lot of things that are happening, and the fact that you always have to be alert. The game is so interesting. I mean, I don't know if that's subjective, but the game itself, it inspires me a lot.
And who inspires you the most? A personality?
I don't know, those questions like, I have to pick one. Why I have to pick one? Is that a rule?
I remember you don't like to pick one specific.
Like basketball is a team sport, it's not tennis. Nothing against tennis or nothing against Formula 1.
Yes, I remember also tennis.
Like we were talking about the Grand Prix in Formula 1. In Formula 1, recently I watched the movie.
Yes.
I think that one of those messages they want to pass was like, this is a team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we have to work as a team. Yeah. It's not an individual sport, but it is individual. How whatever you are with your car, yes, you are a part of the team, but everything has to work perfect, and the pit, whatever, when you change tires or so, whatever. So this is a sport that requires a lot of synergy among players, coaches and players, management, fans. There's synergy out there. So why I have to pick one?
True.
There are a lot of people that they inspire. My generation had been grown with the success of national team 1987 with Nick Gallis and Panathinaikos and Fasoulas and Fanis Christodoulou. And I had after that the privilege and the honor to coach Fanis Christodoulou, one of played against Fasoulas, played against Nick Gallis when I was assistant coach. So there are many players that they inspire me, and coaches, obviously, with the late Dusan Ivkovic, Zeljko, that we have worked and been friends, which is the most important and actually best man. So there are many coaches, many players they had inspired and left the signal. Actually, they influence my vision and thoughts in basketball.
Okay.
You mentioned Zeljko. You have been for so long his assistant. What was it like to be the assistant of Zeljko Obradovic?
Well, I think that the most important thing out there, it was that we have stayed 13 years as associates, because both of us realized, and especially myself, what is the areas you can influence, or being a good assistant, being a coach into the court, and at the same time Zeljko giving me allow me to have my floor and to actually coach the team, being a part of recruiting, being a part of the major decisions. So we were working like one. So he gave me a lot of rights. So I was like having the treatment of a head coach over there. It's not given. You need to bring with you experience, knowledge, work ethics, and all this stuff. So I think that the fact that we match and we stayed it so long is because we understood each other. Like even when we watch each other. Now, the other hand, I was not the yes man. Each and every one in life, for whatever decision you have to make, you always have that: should I go there or not? You have the not. So you have to justify the other idea, and you have a voices in yourself. Like today in the morning, I don't know how much you thought about wearing this white T-shirt or not. Okay, or those shoes or that, or should I go there? Should I date this lady? Should I marry that girl? Should I take this car? Should I take this? So I was the voice that justifying the other part of the thinking. So it comes loud out and it comes justified. So it's not only should I play that defense? Should I play that guy? Should I sign that guy? Okay, so let's have the justification why yes or why not. And I think this is something that it's coming back again to the synergy, fulfilling the expectations that the head coach has. Pretty much now, because before Zeljko, I was the head coach as well in the team. See, the youngest head coach in PAOK or Ment or in Philippos or in KK Zagreb. So what I'm asking from the assistant coaches, the associates, is to challenge me, not just to be the yes man. We can agree. It's nothing bad to agree on something. But at the same time, I need some ideas which are justified and not just, I have a different idea just because I want to go against you. I have nothing, against new ideas as soon as they're justified and they have the why over there.
But it seems like, like the perfect recipe to succeed, having an assistant coach that challenges you. But when you have Zeljko and you, two very strong personalities that don't seem to agree on one element, how does that get solved,
You don't see that live.
Really?
You don't see that live. And you get, I don't know, from 13 years, you can get a game. You don't see that we have arguments like Zeljko goes against me or something. Like it looks like we fight, but it's not that. It's basketball talking. It's a little bit more of the emotions that are going out, and it looks like that, but it's not. Also maybe I go and talking to assistant coach, why we choose this, why we chose this, why like this gives us that, justify me the numbers. But you're not gonna see us like to fight. When we go in the locker room or in the closed doors, we might have fights, but this is only for us. When we're going out, we're going with one idea. It doesn't matter whose idea is. Like we're going with one idea, and we're going to support that. I'm not going to go to a player and say, that's my idea, to get a credit, or he goes against. That's. I'm sorry, that's a BS. Okay, that's a completely BS. We're going with one, because over there you have to assist. You have to help the head coach that he has a lot of job to do, a lot of things to watch, and he cannot watch it all. So he needs to trust his coaching staff and each and everyone. If he brings something to the table, that percentage, then we have like from the coaching staff the 100%.
Yeah. Is it also about not showing weaknesses about your group in public and resolve it behind closed doors?
Well, I wouldn't say that this is a weakness. Basketball late professor that he had worked with Zeljko, and also had the privilege to get to know him. I'm sorry, I'm talking about Alexander Nikolic. Late. So he was talking that nothing is wrong in basketball as soon as you try it, and as soon as you practice it. So if you don't make substitutions, if you don't try it, then it's wrong. Because there is one saying that I like to say that, when. And allow me, I don't know, I'm talking out to the camera, I will look a little bit that I'm talking about the death. But, all of a sudden, at the end of our life, let's say when we have 100 years old, we got to live from this life. And as soon as we don't have regrets for the ideas we haven't brought in life, for the talent we haven't brought in action, for the courage to go out there and do new stuff, then I don't want to have regrets. So let's try things, and if it doesn't work, I'm not gonna be stubborn. Let's change it. There are so many ideas out there. Anyhow, you have heard so many times that failures is a beginning of success, or it's the way you. Seeing on things is the way you accept the whatever failure was, and then you move on from there, and then you create something good.
You have been for so long, like you said, his right hand, let's say, I think more than an assistant. But we had Sasha Bradovic on the podcast, like we told you before, and he told us that when you're an assistant, or let's say start as an assistant your career, it's very hard to become eventually a head coach. Do you agree with that, or not at all? Obviously, it was different for you because you have been a head coach before, but then for being so long an assistant, after the head coach, no adjustments.
I'm happy that also Sasha had called me major times while he was a player or he was making a transition to ask some suggestions. So that's a good thing. Because he had a great relation with Tomasic. Tomasic was our player, so we had a good relation. I had a great relation with Sasha, so that's nothing wrong.
Yeah.
I've been already in the game for more than 30 years, and it was pretty much a constant decision, like a clear decision on teaching. That's what was attracting me that much. That's why I studied the game. That's why I finished my university. I haven't played the highest level like Sasha or Zeljko, but I was coaching since I was born, I can say. So that's nothing. There is no blueprint out there to explain what you have to do. What is tough? It's tough is to accept the role you have and to try to fulfill the expectations and to bring even more. You're not gonna be like in a box. You say, okay, I did finish my job. I write my report. I give it to my supervisor, and I'm done. Like that was not me. I was trying to find new ways on how we can become better, and I like because we're talking for these things in order for the new generations to understand, and as well yourself. I'm coming from the years that I have to go to the VHS and put the VHS and make a scouting report, running the tape. And then in order to make a scouting report for, 5 games that I already scout, I need to put again the VHS, run it to 1 hour, 3 minutes and 15 seconds, take one clip, and then rewind it back. And then it takes that time, it's not now in computer, you go like you do over here, all the mechanics, you run, and in 2 hours you finish all the editing and everything. Like for me doing the editing, it takes like sleepless
not a lot of
days
sleep.
and hours and nights and whatever it is. Like so, I like that this transition became. We went to the DVDs and then we went to the digital format, and now everything's pretty much you click and you have all the pick and rolls of X player. That was not like this back then. You had to spend a lot of time to study the game. So. It helped me, and I say that to the new generations. Now we have it even more easier, so you need to spend more time to analyze. If you spend more time to analyze, then you understand the strategy of the other coach, then you pretty much establish your own philosophy. If you are in a position to adopt things or reject things, means that you already established some kind of a philosophy for yourself.
It's very interesting what you say, because I have the feeling that it's kind of a blueprint to have to go through so much stuff to become a coach of your excellence at this level in EuroLeague, which is probably one of the most, let's say, tactical, most difficult leagues in the world to play. What's your perspective on, let's say, younger coaches, this new generation, like you said, such as, for example, Spanoulis, that after only a few years, he's already like at the head of one of the big teams in Europe?
I like when ex-players, they get into the coaching staff, and especially players that I had the privilege to work with and win.
Yes.
There are many out there, so that they from players' career became coaches. So I welcome them and I said, now welcome to the other side of the river, because before, the best teammate, he has to start thinking about himself. Like, you have a team of 15, am I right? So who is your best player that he thinks about everybody? Is that Diamantidis, let's say, that he really wants to pass to you, and then maybe last he will shoot the ball. Still you have to start from yourself. Still you have to start from I'm not saying that this is a personal agenda, but you need to take care about yourself in order to become a good teammate. But the coach is different. He thinks about everybody, and then probably, if some time left, he might think about himself, his family, his friends, his parents. This is pretty much what is our job saying. Like you become a stranger a lot of times. Say, why you have been lost and you don't call me like for 3 months. Guess what? I was like 24 hours like in solving problems for my team. So I want to say that they pretty much there were players that you could have said that they will become coaches, and among them there are Saras or Billy Spanoulis or or Sasha that I said I was like spent a lot of time.
You saw it about
talking with him.
Spanoulis when you coached him?
Oh yeah. He wanted
Nice.
to become a coach. I mean, we had a talk about that.
Nice.
Yeah, he said about that. So, there is one thing that you can buy or you don't have it unless you live it, which is experience. You need to experience things. You don't go to the supermarket and you buy experience.
Yeah.
True.
You got witness that. You got make mistakes. You got fall down. You got raise up and again fight. And you got to go through the situation of having confrontation, having good season, having bad season. Need to fire people, need to hire people, need to get shut down over there and stay away. So this is something that calls experience.
Coach, we just discussed for 10 minutes and already feel like it's crazy, the passion and the intensity you have,
Yes.
everything about basketball. Where does this energy comes from? Did you have it were you born with it or you built it yourself throughout the years?
Well, I don't know if I was born with it. So but my father and my mother, they used to call me always to come back home because I was always playing with the ball. It started with the soccer, then it went to basketball, track and field in between. So I was always in sports. I couldn't see myself doing something else. Or I was doing other things, but my passion was sports. So, and obviously, finally and hopefully, it was basketball. But it comes from the respect towards the game.
That's amazing, yeah.
If you don't respect the game, then the game will not respect you back.
Okay.
You need to respect the game a lot. So you need to respect your position. You need to respect the call you have. You've been placed in a certain position, and you have to feel accountable, and you have to show that you are accountable of what your actions will bring. So it's pretty much the respect. So now, if I feel that I don't have fire, then probably I will move on and do something else.
It's far from that though, I feel.
No, I don't. I feel that I have a lot of fire yet.
Yeah.
I feel that I have a lot to give, learn at the same time. I'm in constant learning, reading a book, talking with you, exchanging ideas overseas with some colleagues from NBA, from other EuroLeague coaches. I'm privileged being elected as a president of EuroLeague Coaches Association. I have so many contacts. My privilege and my legacy is the 5,500 contacts that I have on this phone that, I don't know if all, I can call them at 3:00 in the morning and say, I need this or that, or they can call me and say, hey, coach, I need that advice. So that's the legacy. That's actually pretty much something you gain throughout the years working with players.
This fire you have, was there any moment in your career or any team where you didn't have this fire?
No. Fire goes like this. That's the game. Like, you wake up and you go and do what you love. If you don't have that, you better stay at home.
Yeah.
That's what I said to the players. It's not written on the forehead. Today I cannot practice, or I don't feel.
Yeah.
Because they're coming those days that you had a fight with your wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, mother, father. I don't know. So just tell me. It's not written over here. I'll sit you out and I'll give you a rest. But if you come in, then you have to respect the game, shut down from the outside world, and just help and be professional.
You speak a lot about learning the game, so I want to bring you back a little bit to your beginnings. And so you went very young to now ex-Yugoslavia to really basically learn from those coaches. And you were, I think, at 20 years old, head coach of the under-18 of Zagreb. Guide me through this experience, you getting there as a...
Well, everything started from my friend like Igor Jukic. Okay, I was playing, but I was playing in a lower division in Greece. And I didn't see myself becoming a national team player. So I couldn't be Yanakis or Galis or something which I was idolized and I was like seeing as a the go-to guys, So, but I was like always with a book. There was one book back then translated to Greek. This is basketball.
Okay.
I think I knew back then the comma where it is, like how you teach the shooting, how you teach that pivoting, how you teach. I knew it. Like if I close my eyes,
So
I know that page is like says this, So saying that it means that I have read that book and I was going through like watching the film, because that's what I'm saying to the young athletes, not only basketball players. A very close friend of ours, our family, had a daughter that she was playing tennis and she wanted to become better. So I asked her, like, do you watch tennis? And she looked at me like, Like back then, when I was 16, 17, talking about 80s,
Yeah.
late 80s, we were going to the video shop to rent the cassette that is coming from overseas that shows the All-Star game or shows the Lakers against Boston game in order to watch games.
Yeah.
We miss watching games, and now it's so much out there in the YouTube that people are not watching. So I'm suggesting those young kids and players that they want to become, do you watch the game? Do you study the game? So you watch what he's doing, so you like it, you don't like it, you try to adopt, you try to work on that move, so do it. Watch the game. So I was watching a lot the game. I was trying to study the game. So that's a key factor, I think, if you want to develop skills or develop your game.
But do you think that this level of greatness is achieved only with obsession? Why I'm saying this, because we had so many players on the podcast, extremely talented, extremely great players. But, we speak with them often on the podcast, and you feel that they're not necessarily like so much or have this much obsession about the game. You think that there's a direct correlation between obsession and greatness?
I don't know if it's an obsession or greatness, or I tell you again, is about the respect you have towards the game, and if you love what you're doing. We're getting paid for doing sport that we love.
Yeah.
And so the hobby becomes a profession. But okay, now you have to pass that line, that red line, and says, okay, now you feel accountable because you get paid, so you need to bring results. So it's not only just that, it's how you're going to bring results if you're going to be great. So how are you going to be great if you work? There is no other magic, whatever, movement that you have to do, or some magician that is going to transform you all of a sudden to LeBron James or Michael Jordan or the late Kobe Bryant. So you need to spend tears and sweat and a lot of effort, like this saying I like when I was called to talk to people, CEOs of the companies or so, whatever, like, we've been awarded for what we are working behind closed doors. We've been awarded in lights, like the trophies are coming and there are 20,000 people, but nobody knows about my failures that I had on the gym, like missing the shots. Like,
Yes.
Diamantidis going to shoot 500 and then he says, look, I can make shots, because I miss 400 out of that. Then he comes and he becomes better. So you've been awarded behind closed doors. I mean, like Kobe Bryant, and I'm mentioning a lot of Kobe Bryant because he's going like 3 hours before the game, working out, and he wants to work out more. He bounces that ball. He's shooting. He's going throughout his routine. There is no other way. Bringing the example of Nigel Hayes that he recently now signed for Phoenix. When I first signed Nigel to Fener, it was pretty much on his lowest from going out from Barcelona or something. But then when I witnessed, like, we had a session of, we work at 11 o'clock in the morning, like around 2-ish, like we going out from the gym and everything. And then I had to take some paper from my office, and I come back to the gym around 2300, like late at night. And I hear somebody's bunching the ball out there. I go out there. It was 11:30, Nigel was shooting the ball. So like,
you cannot cheat the game.
that's what is the truth. He wants to become better. So he adds some more working hours on himself. So
do you think this new generation has the same, let's say, respect towards the game that you mentioned, this word respect, than the older generation?
Then if they don't, I don't have the answer. I don't know if it's yes or no.
Okay.
I work with people that at least the majority of them, that they like the game and they're keen to learn, and they're keen to put an effort, because otherwise then the system, the group will kick them out. I don't have to kick them out. The group will kick them out. They don't belong there where the rest they want to flourish.
But you create the system, right?
Well, I create the system, but the system also is created itself, because the system shows throughout these years that something works, is successful. So it's pretty much the legacy comes before me and says, okay, whatever these guys are together and they put this kind of effort and they pretty much had a healthy locker room and they put their ego aside, then they succeed. Well, that's pretty much it.
Talking about success and legacy, I want to come back on those unbelievable Panathinaikos years. So you were 13 years part of this organization, 5 EuroLeague titles, only 1 losing season in the EuroLeague, which was like 9-11. That's it. What was the recipe for this success on such a long time?
First of all, great organization, great leadership. Like the family Giannakopoulos, Mr. Pavlos, Mr. Thanasis, that were more close to the team, and Mr. Kostas lately. After that, they were always over there. Like they were first in their business. So if a successful entrepreneur, he's at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock at his office and running the office, and then he has time to come and check the team and also invest in the team, then who I am not to invest on what they invest already and what they gave me. So that's a great example. So you lead by example, and this great two men, and they help so much Panathinaikos on investing, bringing the best names out there. We have worked with many great players worldwide, and 13 years is a long time. So it means something good was happening there.
Yes.
Did you feel it every day?
You know how you feel it? Now I'm 55, and when I walk to the streets of Greece and somebody stops me, and he's around, like, I don't know, close to 30, he says, coach, like, we became Panathinaikos fans because of that team.
Nice.
So can you imagine the impact that team had to the new generations that they wanted to follow and become, I don't know, Bodiroga or Rebracha or Diamantidis or Spanoulis or Saras or whatever. So Panathinaikos pretty much created fans, basketball fans, the fans that they were also educated by the fact of, like you playing, you deserve to win, and you deserve to win because you put a lot of effort, also practicing. It doesn't have to be only talented player, but he has to put extra workout. It's also interesting because throughout the 80s, the basketball has changed also the way that journalists are transforming the outcome of what basketball means, or who is the GOAT player, or who is the MVP, the most valuable player. Nick Gallis was a great scorer. Dražen Petrović late was a great scorer. Oscar Smith was a great scorer. Let's don't get me wrong. We need the scorers. At the end of the day, you play to score the ball. But then we had a period that, MVP can be also Papaloukas or Diamantidis, that they score 6 points, but they have 8 assists, 10 rebounds, and they have 10 deflections. And then, they're always in defense. So pretty much it was not, you see in the papers on the 80s who scored 30, that's a good player. Maybe this guy that he scored 6 is not a good player. Now he might be an MVP. So it changes the way that journalists and also teammates had approach the game. Okay, that guy is a valuable player because there is not, the majority cannot be the elite scorers, but still they can have a very important role into the team. And every coach would have liked a lock defender that can go out there and really, lock down a great scorer. So he's always going to find a job, this kid. So, the transition is very interesting how it goes.
You mentioned, Coach, the impact of the Giannakopoulos family. Do you have any relationship with DPG today?
Of course, yes. I mean, unfortunately, the three brothers had left this life, but as I said, their legacy is still live and will always remain live because their impact into Greek basketball in general, to the national team success, because they have brought so many great players, is there. And mother of Dimitris Giannakopoulos is also a very important figure. And as I said, that continues now with Dimitris Giannakopoulos and his associates and the fans and everything. So that cannot be, the relations and the friendships that they were created. Obviously, it lasts for many years. It's important that you stay opponents for 40 minutes. Yes, I want my team to win, or I want to build the best possible team. But whatever is written out there with golden letters cannot be erased. That's something that stays, and it stays with a very great memory. So somebody can love you, somebody can hate you, but that's how the song. There is one song, you can find it now on the internet. I think it's Pavarotti and Celine Dion. They sing, I love you, then I hate you, then I love you, then I hate you.
Yeah. I know what you want.
It's a great performance.
I mean, when you came in Panathinaikos, because we had DPG on the podcast, right? And when you came in, he was a young adult. I think he was like around 24, 25 years old. Did you see in him like the same passion and craziness he has today, or he was very different then?
Yeah, back we signed in June of '99. and I think Dimitris was 25 by the. I think he's born 74 or something. He was not that often at the gym.
Okay.
But then his involvement was throughout the opening the power shops, all the merchandise that needs to be out there in order, because basketball team was, everybody was looking for Diamantidis jersey, or this jersey, or that trophy, or that replica, and Dimitris was the one that started that, having this passion of creating. So that's what I remember very, very vividly. It's there. I remember that we had the opener of one of the shops. So pretty much we have left the team when Dimitris took over back in 2012.
Okay.
And after that, it was, everybody chose a different direction, but he was involved, as I said, starting from all this to create a great brand out there, what means Panathinaikos in general.
I heard that during practice at Pau, Zeljko would let you guide entire practice. Like, you would be basically the head coach at many times, even during the games. Is this something that you translate and do the same now with your assistant coaches?
Yes. We had, of course. I mean, there is no, if you don't give to your assistant coaches a responsibility or a floor to develop their skills, and so why you have them, just to keep some notes? You need to give them a floor, and I do give them the floor. A lot of times I might give to my assistant coach to draw a timeout, or to draw a possible action that the other opponent team is playing. Defense or something, or during the practice. We practicing that all the time. And as you said, in Panathinaikos, yes, I would have had this. So Zeljko would have said from the beginning, if Dimitris is talking, it's like I talk. So it's the same. So you got listen, shut up, and listen, and execute. So
nice.
That's pretty much how it happens. So I mean, I can't imagine that it can work differently.
Yeah.
It's easy for the head coach to take from the assistant coaches the reputation or something, but it's at the same time it's easy to make him lift up in the eyes of everybody, because he is there as a coach. The fact that he's assistant coach doesn't mean that he's not a coach. Therefore, we started also with a union of coaches the letters are union of head coaches.
Yes.
But doesn't mean that the other coaches are not coaches.
Yeah.
They might be the future head coaches. So they're all coaches. They're doing an enormous important job behind the scenes in order to the team to succeed. I go back again to the team job,
yes.
The synergy. Obviously, the head coach will take the decisions. Obviously, he's a general, but he needs to have a great staff in order to,
Speaking of your assistant coaches, I just want to say, I told you yesterday when I saw you, but your assistant coach when you were in national team, so Panathinaikos, was my head coach in Dynamo Bucharest last year. So hello to him, and he did a great job.
Great job. But I texted him. He did a great job winning that third medal. Wow.
By the way, he told me to tell you that I only played offense for him. I couldn't play defense. So.
Really?
Yeah.
But still, he was playing you.
Because he didn't have the choice. Like, there were enough buddies. I guarantee you he would not have played me. Don't worry.
Let's say that always there are choices out there. So he liked something out of you. So that's why he was.
I guess I got lucky then. But I wanted to ask you about the assistant. What are the criteria for you to choose your assistant?
Well, definitely I like people that they have experience from that field that we are in. Because the experience is something, as I said, you can go out there and buy. You need to witness it. You need to feel the players. It's easy to say, okay, tomorrow we play against Toko Sengelia, so we know his moves. So I wanted to prepare our force for how we're going to defend Toko and try to reduce his creativity and his productivity. At the same time, I want assistant coaches that they have a vision of what they're ready to do, work ethics, ready to, at 3 o'clock to receive the message from me that I want this clip next morning to be there. I'm watching a lot of film as well myself. It's not that I cannot go out there without watching the opponents, what they're doing. So I need to scout the plus and minuses of each and every team. And if you see my assistant coaches, you will see the diversification of ethnicities, from where they're coming, So I would like to have a spread, let's say, knowledge and environment from people that they're coming in, and they can fit into the system, and they're ready to contribute.
You said you want to, like, you always look to learn more and more.
100%.
Do you also recruit people to learn from them?
Yes. 100%. They bring
Interesting.
something. They bring
Nice.
a new drill, a new idea. They bring a new way of solving things. Of course, there is nobody that possesses the knowledge that it's like like a superhero or something. I don't consider at least myself like that. So I'm open for any discussion. At least has to be justified.
Okay.
Why? If it's justified and means that somebody had work on that, then it's worth to give it a try. For sure, I'm not the one that rejects ideas just because I'm the head coach and I said, okay, no, because I'm afraid or something, that if that comes to the light that somebody else's idea was, so that's my assistant coach, so that's great.
I would like to ask the same question for players. What's the one criteria you look into players before recruiting them?
Yeah.
It depends. The chemistry is important. How this group of people can play together. In certain individuals, they didn't succeed in one environment. That doesn't mean that they were not good enough. They might go to a different environment and they can flourish out there. So, but the way the game you wanted to play, it didn't fit to them. The environment, the city they are in. When you go to a city, you need to understand the culture you are at. So you need to, and also to the team you go on. You need to get to know about the culture of the fans, the culture of the city you live in, the country you live in. So the story that is behind, the whole history of the club. And there are many players that took a wrong decision or it didn't work with that team, but they go another team and it was great. That doesn't mean that the coach was not good, that couldn't use the player, or vice versa, the player was not good. No, there is a good match. But definitely I would call a lot of colleagues, see the background. We have two scouters that they bring you all the X and O's, or they bring a little bit from the college days, or it depends other teams. It's easy to sign the player when you played against. When the market is within the EuroLeague, so it's easy because you know the player what you sign. It's not much of a surprise. But when you have to sign overseas or some other young player, you need to get more into the details about his background. And not all the signings are perfect signings, so you never know how it's gonna go. For instance, Mike Batiste, that he came to Panathinaikos. He came like a small forward, power forward. He became one of the best undersized bigs when he realized that with his, muscle can influence the game in the paint, and with the jumper that he has from the high post area, as a great catcher and great finisher from those guards you have. So,
you created this trend, by the way, of undersized big then.
It was a trend back then. So pretty much Olympiacos has to sign Karl Heinz, a great player that I worked with, a great person. And to match this undersized big, and then you go like one big, like 7-footer, the other has to be undersized for mobility, switches, or whatever he might give you this big.
I asked this question about what you look into players because we had yesterday Giri Ranan on the podcast, and he said that he invests largely within his tech industry in the background of people, how they overcame adversity, rather than knowing what they did before, where they played, in this case tech. So do you also go deep into this subject, like going through how players react to certain situations?
Well, with us, it's not always ideally to choose coaches or players the way that the entrepreneurs are choosing associates.
Okay.
So it's also a little bit more of a complicated issue. First of all, you had a podcast with a great entrepreneur and a great person that he witnessed many adversities in his life.
Yes.
And then he's there where he is. God bless him and his family. So a living example for many of us, like also Ofer or Mickey Malka, that they are the three owners.
The three musketeers.
Okay, you can say so. Nothing against. In our world, to sign the player, there is a lot of things that needs to be set up at the same time. It's the market value. You have the budget enough. If he's willing to come overseas, if he's coming from NBA, does he have a contract? Do you have to pay a buyout? Do you have other player in his position? What his role? Can he have a good match with the coach and his system and the way he wants to coach the team? So there are. I'm not saying there are not familiar ways of changing your associates into the business world and basketball world. But at the end of the day, it's a little bit complicated. If I go over here now, we have had, and I have to say thank you openly and to the three of them.
Yes.
They invest great, and we've been, let's say, the adversities we faced in order to bring people while the war was happening.
Yes.
It was very challenging.
Definitely.
We don't have the same start, let's say, with Real Madrid or Barcelona or Panathinaikos, Olympiacos, or Fener and Efes, that they have that legacy that they have. So we are new, and people are having doubts. What kind of a project is this? So I say thank you to them because we created a great team. But at the same time, we could have had some other players coming that last moment they had, their second thoughts about how this project would go, or how the situation with the geopolitical issues happening, and where you can influence. You cannot influence in this geopolitics. We're just doing sports.
Definitely.
So it's not. There are many details that we can talk about when and how you can recruit a player, and the momentum is also important.
I just want to say, because you talked about Mac Baptiste. I was listening to your podcast with him that you did a few months ago. Very interesting. And I want to talk about this last question about Panathinaikos. At some point, one year, you coached Spanoulis, Diamantidis, Saras, Mac Baptiste, like 4 legends now of the game. It's before our generation, so we didn't grow up with these, but we saw the story, we saw the highlights. Did you see the greatness on a daily basis being around this group?
I saw the chemistry. I witnessed the healthy locker room.
Okay.
Healthy means that also when a man-to-man you have a fight and you get out of what do you want to say to your teammate. Go and protect my ass over there, like play defense or rebound the ball or pass me the ball when I'm alone, or do this, do that. So it was an open and sincere debate a lot of times in the locker room, and I could see that, because you mentioned these players, because of what that team had succeeded with the previous generations of Bodiroga, Rebraca, Katash, Johnny Rogers, Darren Middleton, one of my long assistant coaches in CSKA, they wanted to be a part of this journey. They wanted the legacy was flying, as I said, was coming before any signing, so they wanted to be a part, and they were just give up hundreds of thousands of dollars in order to come less. They would take some less money in order to sign for Pau. It's also, this is one of the part of where you're living. Athens and Greece is a great country to be at.
Yes.
So, this is also important because I witnessed that in CSKA, like with 8 years, my tenure over there, 8 years. It was fantastic. But I would say last but not least in this topic, that I feel blessed and at the same time honored that I have worked with many great players. Recently, now on this Final Four in Abu Dhabi, EuroLeague had awarded the 25 grades.
Yes.
I think that from this 25, I have worked with 13 of them. So
that's crazy.
Unbelievable.
So that's something that makes me proud.
From all of these star players that you coached during your entire career, I would like to ask, obviously there's some star players that can come with a certain character, right? Do they have a special treatment under your system? Because obviously, I guess from my perspective, you cannot treat all the players the same. Some must have more freedom, How do you handle these kind of very strong characters that you had during your entire career?
You see, that's a good question, because the great players, they don't ask for a special treatment.
Okay.
You pretty much, maybe you have more intimacy in terms of you're going to discuss more deeply about how you want to collaborate with this player, what he can bring to the table. So it looks like you give him a little bit more of a space. But you see those guys that they seek greatness, and they're so secure in their skills and their work ethic, they don't ask for special treatment. They don't need that special treatment. They don't need, because special treatment for them is an extra hour of work. As I said, Nigel just bouncing, put his music of Beethoven and make shots. It happened. That's a real story. We come to Monaco late or something, so we cancel the evening practice, and then the trainer comes to me and said, "Coach, Nigel wants to shoot." I said, "Okay, let's go." And he went like again 10 o'clock in the evening. He was shooting the ball. So great players, they don't need extra treatment. They don't do something to make them separate them from the rest. They're the ones that they bring the pack together. They say, "Okay, let's have a dinner. Let's do that. Let's do something together." So I have had that. Like say Dan, that he's the current president of EuroLeague. He was the one making the first dinner.
Okay.
Or Zeljko would have been that okay, he will do something wrong in order to make a dinner, like false wrong. Like punishment, it will be the dinner. So let's gather together. Let's have some more moments together where everybody can be a little bit more relaxed.
I mean, we're discussing about this topic, star players and special treatments. It makes me think of one special situation that you went through in CSKA Moscow with Mike James. Unbelievable player, brought a lot to the team, but unfortunately, it ended like in not such a good way. He was forbidden to play with the first team, play with the second team. Like, what was the behind the scenes with all that, if you don't mind sharing?
No, I don't mind sharing. First of all, Mike is a great player, a great athlete, and a great kid, and I'm happy that I work with him. It didn't work out because Mike was going through a difficult situation. It's not allowed for me to talk about his personal stuff, but behind the scenes there are a lot of individual stuff that is going throughout the individual. So you don't have to get into deeply into the details of what is going on, and it didn't work out at that moment, and the club at the same time needed results, and the club needed stability. But whenever Mike was there, really everybody have felt him, like how he can score, distribute the ball, and be a leader. And I'm happy that he found his Ithaka in Monaco after that. So so he's a great player. We have a good relations. There's nothing. Didn't work out in one team, as I said. He went to a different environment. That's great. It was great for me as well. It was great for him as well. So that's business.
Ofer mentioned to us yesterday that he called you during the summer every other night to come to Hapoel. Is this true?
He exaggerated. Ofer likes to. I have a good relation. I talk with Mike. I mean, for sure. Mike, as many of my ex-players or the players that they're still playing. I told you, I have a lot of contact that I can pick up the phone and share. That doesn't mean that it's for media. I keep it for me.
Yeah,
for sure.
Nice.
Coming back to your time at CSKA, so it was, you went 1 year coaching at Banvit, and then you had this 8-year run with CSKA, which is unbelievable because without counting, the COVID and the war moment, for the 6 years, it was pretty much over 80% win rate. 2 EuroLeague titles, like, what did you bring to the team? Is it like something very similar that you had in Panathinaikos, or you brought your own new mentality, everything?
Well, before we jump to CSKA, you just mentioned and you passed Banvit, and I understand because nobody is interesting about Banvit, but I'm very interesting because I have signed over there for 3 years.
Okay.
I had no exit from my contract. And I was after Pau. After Pau, we have had me and Zeljko 1 year of sabbatical. Like, we didn't do anything. Like, it was enjoy the family, enjoy the friends, and then Banvit comes. I signed it first to Banvit and then Zeljko to Fenerbahce, and then from a team that did not have this brand name that others had, we create something great, and pretty much the month of early December. It came like already 3 offers to my agent to come to a different team. But when it became really serious at CSKA, then I said, what can I say? I made a breakfast for the ownership and the president, and I said, I have this offer from CSKA, and he took a tissue, and he said, but I said to him, I have a contract over here. I had no exit, and he took a tissue and he wrapped the tissue. He says, contract. It doesn't exist, the contract. We're going to be proud if you go to CSKA.
It's amazing.
This would not do my, this is business. He could have said, okay.
Wow.
Let them pay this amount of money, and because we have 2 more years of contract with you.
It's a lot of money.
And, let's make a deal. Let's do business. But they didn't say that. So, like, as I said, this is friendship, and this is something that you can't find in any written book or written whatever rules out there. So it came out of his heart and his soul, the president of Bandit. And then he came to CSKA, and pretty much, as you said, 8 years straight. The longest run for the coach in CSKA, that it was electrical chair, if I may say. Pretty much the papers was full of, every 3 months I was fired. Like every 3 months, but I stayed over the 8 years, and I was supposed to stay 2 more.
Oh yeah,
yes,
and reach the 100 years, but it was the war, and then Fenerbahce came, and Andrei and me, Andrei, Tutin, Natasha, Foraiva, everybody over there are great friends. And he said to me, I can't promise you EuroLeague. I don't know when we're gonna play EuroLeague back. So if you have that exit, I fully understand. You gave so much to this team, you're free to go. So, also that relation was created, was not something given. I didn't know Andrei before, and we were like this, but we became family friends. So there are so many great moments that unite us.
Yes.
And not only that, the evolvement we had, because also Andrei back then signed a young coach, okay, not having, let's say, that experience that maybe the media would love to. I was around the game, but still. He made that pick, and as I said, my first contact was 1+1 with CSKA, and then
you just added
the rest is history. So
you had a very strong core of players in CSKA. One question I would like to ask you is, do you, before making any recruitment or adding other elements to this core, do you consult them? Obviously, you're the boss, but do you still speak to them? Okay, guys, what do you think about this player, this player?
To whom?
To the core
players?
Yes.
That are already on the team.
Not that often, because players are players.
Okay.
And players, they have a different perception. Only one time I was, let's say, convinced by 2 players about the player, but I don't want to get into the names. But at one moment, and the player, I'm sorry that he listened this. He will know who I'm talking with. He came after 6 months and he said, "Okay, coach, I apologize. I did pretty much a mistake. I have to see it in a different way." So I want to say that I would advise the players only if that's a done deal. I said, I'm going to bring this player because he matches well with this, and we want, let's say, when we are about to, we recruit Corey Higgins, and pretty much Corey was like nobody, believed that Corey can give such an impact, such a push to already a great team, and pretty much also maybe also within the team they were thinking, who is now this Corey Higgins? But Corey Higgins already was an established scorer. Yeah. And then when I called Corey, I said, "Listen, Corey, I want you to do more with less."
Yes, I remember you said that.
Corey says, "Coach, if you don't give me minutes, how can I do?" He said, "Okay, you want to gain the trust from the teammates, and when you gain the trust with the teammates, that's the biggest achievement." So when his teammates, they were coming and said, "Hey, put me with Corey. I want to play with Corey." And then the other guys said, "Yeah, but I would like to play with Corey." And then everybody all of a sudden wanted to play with Corey. That's a great achievement. Then I don't need to do much. Like, everybody wants to play with him. He can defend, he can score, he can pass. So that's great. So this is what, let's say, when we're bringing Will Clyburn in CSKA and we upgrade, we said, okay, we need a little bit of a size. We brought Nikita Kurbanov. Nikita Kurbanov was the change point, or the turning point of how we have a small forward that he can shoot, he can post, he can defend, changing all these ways of how we approach the defense, and also he was a great leader, not vocal, but Nikita was with the way he was playing, not an extra talented player, never, but a very important player to the team achievements, I would have advised some players, say, okay, we're going to bring this guy because this guy can do this, can do that. The 2019 actually, and you asked me the similarities with Panathinaikos.
Yes, if you really brought everything that you learned in Panathinaikos, or you came with your own mentality, your own vision.
This is a combination. Of course, of course I brought a lot of knowledge from, as I said, experience from 13 years working with Pau, because this is something you bring with you. So, but what we did with Panathinaikos is that we have changed 3 generations within 13 years. 3 generations in 13 years. In CSKA, we did that in 8 years. We changed 3 generations with Hriapa and Sasha Kaun, we ended to, like De Colo, and as I said, those players like Will Clyburn, and we went through these 3 generations, and we won 6 back-to-back Final Fours. This is also
unreal.
Unreal. The other day when I met Rick Pitino, was a head coach of national team of Greece, and I supposed to take over after that. He says to me, "Come on, man, relax. Like 6 Final Fours back-to-back. You know what's that's accomplishment?" I said, "Yeah, but we could have won some more." Okay.
Yeah.
After 6 Final Fours, don't you get a call from the NBA?
Well, there were some talks. I have a lot of friends, and NBA is the best league for sure, organization-wise. Definitely, I had the privilege to work with Detroit Pistons in many summer leagues, and also with Philadelphia 76ers in one summer league in Orlando. The rest, the summer leagues that were in Las Vegas. Work with many NBA players that back then, or some of them, they stopped their career already because it was back then. We have worked closely, Pau and Detroit Pistons, while Joe Dumars was the GM, and George David, that he's now the GM, was the assistant GM over there. So, and many other names and many other great, presidents or GMs or coaches now. We have a close relation. So I feel very, very happy over here. It didn't came something that it was certain that he could fulfill my expectations, or at the same time when it came some offer, I already had a job, which I didn't let that job to go, and I'm happy. You never know. You never say no, but that's how it worked.
What is for you the biggest difference between an NBA organization and a EuroLeague organization?
Now, biggest difference, like there are many differences, but the fact that already they establish all these technicalities, that they have it for granted. For instance, they all travel with a private plane.
Yeah.
So over here, it's not granted. There are many teams that fly commercial. So over there, there is no way that one team will not fly private.
Yeah.
So they have all the salary cap that is always increasing. It's raising a lot. They have a lot of influence from Europe too. Their game is being influenced, and also most of the coaching staffs, they do have one European influence.
They bring more and more, I see.
Yes, as I said, they have some coaches coming from abroad, or they already established some status quo in Europe. Then they bring their knowledge there, or they combine that. Players, I don't want to mention, like Giannis, Jokic, or Luka, or there are many great European players that they have a real impact to the NBA now. So they have a real impact. So other than that, I think I would use again something that Joe Dumars was using the first day I met him. He said, Dimitris, basketball is universal. Regardless what is being played, universal. Basketball, the game is universal. Obviously, the difference is that they have more physical players. They have players that you can use them at 4 and they use them at 2.
Yeah.
So the floor is different. The rules are a little bit different. And now you bring me to the next question, or to the next topic, that why as basketball we don't have worldwide the same rules and the same dimension.
True.
Soccer, that everywhere. I have many friends in soccer as well, professionals, high professionals, but they have the same ball, the same dimension, the goalpost is the same, so the lines are the same, and that's it. In us, we have dimensional sport. We have the NCAA with their rules,
True.
The NBA with their rules of their dimension,
In high school,
and we have now the Europe, and also Europe. We have EuroLeague and also FIBA.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much we're confusing our fans. Okay, here is a charge, here is this. Okay, this is a 3-point line. This is, okay, generally we have the same rules, but we could be united. This is one part also that I'm dreaming of, to be united and to have this great sport to evolve even more and more.
Do you think that the NBA is bringing more and more European coaches because of all this amazing European players that are joining the league more and more?
I think that they like the style over here. They like the fact that they are not involved only 2 players. That they are the franchise players, and now they need to touch the ball. They need to shoot 20 balls each, and we're all happy, even though the result is not according to the expectation. Here we do play. First of all, EuroLeague means every game matters.
True.
What is the slogan? Is pretty much what we have brought each and every one from us, like coaches, players. You get out there, you play against whatever team is, like it's a final, pretty much from the beginning until the end. And you see the difference in between the qualifying teams to the playoffs or play-in. It's maybe 1 or 2 wins or losses might define your future. So every game matters. Over there with 82 games, and the way they
Not
play.
every game matters.
But the future should be to have this league. I'm dreaming when EuroLeague will become 30 teams.
Really?
Why not?
So you would do like 2 different conferences in the same way?
Well, 2 different conferences, maybe 4 conferences,
Okay.
to have more games, and then without neglecting the domestic leagues, to have the domestic leagues as a development league and still bring up the importance they have to bring for the national teams, for everything. Let's don't lie to each other that there are national teams that they're successful, and a great example out there in the last decade is for sure Spain or France, that they have foreigners over there,
Yes.
or they have passports. Like Luka Doncic was playing as a Spanish player.
Yeah.
Mirotic was playing as a Spanish player.
Yes.
They were Spanish passport holders because they have lived and learned basketball there.
Yes.
But that doesn't stop them of having them and choosing their national team after that. Luka is playing and he's proud playing for Slovenia. So, we need to find a way. That's a little bit more deeply we can talk and discuss also with some of the politicians, or find the way how to have the same taxation, because one of the differences we're talking about NBA, they're all teams are under the same law in the United States. They have a different financial law in their states.
Yes.
But still they're under the same flag.
Yep.
So if we could have had the same standards and not having this kind of a big gap, the taxation in Russia is this, the taxation in Turkey is this, and then the taxation in Germany is that. So it's not the same. You mentioned about signing players. It's not the same for Bayern to bring the same player because they have to play that amount of money.
Yeah.
True.
So if we find a way to be united under the same umbrella of the financial part, then we could have talked about having the expansion that we needed to. Not only finding the dates in the calendar, which is very important because there are no many days, but we can find a way if we're going to have an equal economic system out there in terms of taxation, for sure.
It's very interesting you speak about, the format of the EuroLeague and being it so scattered across country, because us on our side, from the media perspective, EuroLeague is very scattered across countries, different languages, different, on our side podcasts. So our goal is to say, as you said, unite through one umbrella. And you, as the very more tactical and basketball side, unite under one similar product. Do you think this is going to be the next step for the EuroLeague to really unite everything from
100%.
the basketball court to the media rights, TV rights, everything?
100%. I'm very optimistic. I hope I'm going to be alive and I'm going to live that progression and that evolvement, that it goes there. We already have 20 teams. Don't get me wrong. I like EuroLeague a lot. EuroLeague is the right environment, and we're convinced that we can do better. So much better. The product also costs better because we as basketball, we are not any political party that we go outside and we give to this group of people. Say, okay, do a question out there. What is our percentage if we go out there? And then they take, okay, if 18% they will vote for us. Okay, we got to become better to reach the 40%. So we're gonna make a government. So our answer is what? The spectators. So the gyms in the games of EuroLeague, they're full. So you whatever game it is, like it's pity that on the first year of Hapoel Tel Aviv, we're not going to be where the fan base is, because we have the fan base. With this whole signing, for sure, last year we had almost 7,000 year tickets. We would have had 11,000 year tickets this year. But it is another challenge. For us, it's a very challenging year this year. So I want to come back to this, that I'm very optimistic. Basketball will go towards there. We're going to find a way. Now, after 20 teams now, 24 the next day, maybe we're moving forward, some more teams, some more investors are coming. You see now, We have 3 great entrepreneurs in Hapoel Tel Aviv. There are many others in Dubai. There are many others waiting, seeing that the project, okay, it's worth the effort. Why not to? Why not to? Because also basketball, I think, is really downrated in terms of the incomes that the owners should have had.
Yes.
Already, there is so much of a space for improvement that
100%.
it makes me also feel confident and optimistic.
Coach, you mentioned the challenges that you are facing to recruit people to this project because of, the narrative that we are all seeing right now. But I would ask you, how challenging was it to recruit you?
Well, that's a good one. I have met Ofer in Final Four in Berlin. We talk a lot, and pretty much it was a chemistry from the very first night. Love at first.
Nice.
So yeah, we had a dinner, then again meet the next day, and we talk a lot. And I promised him that I'm going to come to the finals if there is a final. And I came. I came to the finals. And we talk a lot, and I explained my vision, he explained his vision, and then pretty much I thought that I'm not going to work that summer when I left from Fenerbahce. And I said to my agents, I'll take it off, it's okay, we'll see what it comes and when it comes. Already there's some teams that were calling, but I said, I'm not going to work. And then Offer comes and says, you got to come now. You got to come now, otherwise, we got to go to a different direction. Then I try to convince him, okay, be patient and everything. But he explained me the whole vision for the future, not only for the previous, back then, the current year that we were talking at. And he convinced me that that's the right moment to come. And I don't regret the fact that I have got into a different environment. And we gave a lot of joy with this Euro Cup title. We pretty much fulfilled the expectation from the beginning in order to reach the big league, which is the EuroLeague. And through the difficulties we had, because we're also the second team in the history of basketball that wins the European title not playing at home. The first team was Partizan with Zeljko in Fuenlabrada. But back then they had the Fuenlabrada fans fulfilling the gym. We had in Bulgaria, in Samokov, 20 of them, they're coming. It's okay, so let's go and watch the game. So, but our fans pretty much they came after that. They see the team is reaching the. It's possible, that, and it's really interesting to tell you the story that if we would have had now here the logo of Hapoel.
We have it on the jersey, actually.
All right,
Yes.
so allow me to tell you a story after
Please.
that for the logo, because it's important also the whole story that Ofer explained me about Hapoel, the background, the fact that they haven't won a title in Israeli League since '69. They never won something in the European scene. So now all of a sudden Hapoel Tel Aviv is with the big boys over there. So so let's try to be one team among the others, but at the same time let's have some expectations from ourselves. But again, it has to happen in a tough way. So it has to be out of our country, out of our domestic country, Israel, Tel Aviv, where we have the fan base and we have a great fans that they know how to support the team. But okay, we're looking forward for the challenge. First of all, the owners, they never make any step back. On the contrary, they wanted to invest more and more. They wanted to accommodate us here in Sofia, which is another challenge, and we have to thank also all the people over here in Sofia that they accept us, help us, to accommodate us for the gym, to the apartments, for the cars, all the stuff. And we had calculate all the hours, what is more convenient for us, from where to fly, and we chose Sofia. It was not just, okay, let's go there. We calculated with a company, the avia company that we were flying with Arkia, to see the destination. And finally, even though it looks like we're going to fly 26 times to Tel Aviv to play the domestic league, the hours we're going to be, because we're going to be located here in Sofia. So flying back to Tel Aviv, it looks like we're going to have 26 travels. But the flying hours we're going to be on the air are less than other teams that they're going to do the opposite.
Okay.
Being located to Tel Aviv and flying
Okay.
abroad.
You said you have a lot of content. Yes,
Yes.
right here. You can
The
explain
logo.
us the
Oh,
logo.
that's me?
That's you.
Ooh,
Yeah, we can play some basketball if you want one day.
okay. My knees are hurting, okay? You see, I can't see it well over here. Probably the logo.
Can you show them
Yeah.
the camera, coach, if you don't mind?
Yes.
Yes.
Over here, though, if you enlarge it, I don't know. This is the story that Ofer told me, explained me last night,
Okay.
no, 2 nights ago. So over here is a man, am I right? A man
Yes,
that is
yes,
going.
yes.
So it's the workers built that. They were working in the field a lot to provide. It's a hard work. But as you can see over here on the hip, there is one part missing
Yes.
to this.
Okay.
There's
Yes.
one small part over here missing.
Yes.
It's not complete.
Yes. Yes.
So anybody can imagine what is this part? And I repeat, Ofer explained me the story. So this part is from the biblical story that says that how was created the woman. The God took a piece from the man
Yes.
and created the woman.
Yes.
So that's the piece that's missing from the man. How important are the woman into all this story? So the part is missing.
Very interesting.
This. And the woman, thank you for that. The women are very important part for the professional athletes and professional coaches. Yeah. It's if you don't have the support, then the understanding, and I really have an empathy of what they're going through. It's not easy, especially now. We had to recruit 9 new players. That's another challenging part. So we have to become a team. And at the same time, those players, they came with their families, young kids and everything. They need to go around. So it was not an easy decision to make, but they're all committed, and I'm happy that I'm working with such a great, minds and also athletes at the same time.
Nice.
It's very interesting, because of course, when we talk about Hapoel, Tel Aviv in European basketball, a lot of people are going to think, yeah, it's just these guys that throw a lot of money, but that's it. But then when you dive deeper into this whole organization, there is an unbelievable organization, unbelievable culture, and everyone knew the players, everyone fully bought into this. How important is for a team to really buy into the project and believe into the project?
Well, very important. Mm-hmm. And obviously, we cannot predict the future. We're not magicians, but the 3 guys we just mentioned, the 3 owners, Yanai, Gili Ranan, and Miki Malka, they don't want to just invest for 1 year. Mm-mm. They're not successful entrepreneurs because they just think for 1 year. All right?
They have a plan.
So give them a little bit more of a credit, because they're really high rated into the world of entrepreneurs out there for what their field is for each and every one. So they see it as an investment of long term. And even I'm going to be here or another is going to be here. It doesn't matter. They look for that. And Hapoel Tel Aviv fans, they need to be blessed. And at the same time, you need to pray for what they have right now, because the future says a new big gym build it in Tel Aviv, some more investments, and some more great things to come. So we're really... we're not just throwing the story out there. The project is bigger than it seems now. And as I said, again, I cannot predict the future. That's why I bought it, or I believed it. I would use better. I believed into the project. Mm-hmm. Well, I explained the obstacles we're going to have, and still, we're the Cinderella. We just got into the EuroLeague, all right? We need to get punches in order to learn how it is. But I wish that we could get the punches in the practice, but we're missing 7 players also, you know. Our preseason is not going to be smooth because we are missing 5 Israelis that they represent their country. We're proud for that. We're missing Michic that he's representing his country, and we miss Caboclo that he's representing his country. So there are 7. It's a significant number. We're not the same team that had worked so many years together. So okay, they're coming back. We know each other. We play. Those guys, they need to. Okay, here I am. You know my name. I'm Ginat. Or I'm Madaros or whatever. So it needs time. It will take time. And at the same time, our preseason is going to be cut to the half, because on the 10th of September, we're called to go back to Israel to play a Super Cup without the Israeli players, because they're playing with the national team. Nobody thought that maybe the national team of Israel would go until the final.
It's almost dangerous because you're not ready. The players are not ready.
I mean, we've been called now in 18 days to play official game. So with half of a team. You know, so they said, we asked them like, how are we gonna play? They said, okay, with juniors, like,
Yeah.
then and still all these rules that they have, it's a process.
For sure.
We're all here to justify to the majority why it's better to have changed the rules.
Mm-mm.
It's not because we want to be supervised or we want to be superior against other teams that they don't have this financial strength or these financial abilities to invest into foreign players or to domestic players. It's about the competition out there is being played differently.
Mm-hmm.
So we're the only country right now, we have only 5 imports allowed to play in the domestic league.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Elsewhere is 6. Turkey that I fought a lot, now they're 7. You know, like, and in EuroLeague, you have no limit. You can have 12 Israelis. You can have 12 Japanese. You can have 12 whatever you want. So, I mean, we need, this goes to what we talk about, the stability or the same core of financial part. And also, like, I'm competing, we played Valencia last year, the semifinals, one of the greatest semifinals in the Euro Cup.
Unbelievable.
And Valencia had, 9 imports or 8 imports in their roster. So, okay, but they're playing over there. They got the Cotonou, the this and that, and we were limited to have only 6 or 7 or whatever it was. So we need to establish a better status quo on how the limitations are being set to the domestic leagues. For me, all this, how I can say, the limitations or it shows weakness. If you're good enough, go and play. You're not going to play because of the color of the skin or because of the passport you have. If you're good enough, compete out there and go play. I'm not here in this position because I'm Greek. I'm proud that I'm Greek. I'm very proud. I represent my country, but I'm here as a basketball coach. It doesn't matter my nationality. Yeah. It matters if I have a knowledge, if I have the this that it takes, the experience, the fire or whatever it is.
What's your perspective on Ofer in the way that he's involved in the team? Because, we had Ostoja Mihailovic on the podcast, president of Partizan, and he said that he doesn't want to be so involved with players because he has people that he pays for that, right? When we see Ofer, I mean, we all know he speaks to players directly, negotiates with the agents sometimes directly. You are the boss of what's going on in the field, of the sport itself. How do you perceive this involvement from the top, from the owner, towards this entire structure?
Well, first of all, we had a lot of talks with Ofer. I like that he wants to be involved. It's a privilege to pick up the phone or text one of the great entrepreneurs we have, and then they will answer immediately or they will answer within an hour. Their time is also super busy, am I right? Their day is super busy. And still they have time for basketball. And still they have time to learn. Because also Ofer said, listen, I don't know much about basketball. I want to learn more. Please teach me some things. We talk a lot on the plane. Sometimes there's questions which comes out of the blue. Why this, why that? So be patient. Analyze the things. It's like me going in his environment and asking why you do this investment or that investment, or why you did this or why you do that. And it's going to look silly to him that I'm talking about either finance or maybe energy. But the fact that he's involved shows that he really cares. Yeah. And I like that. As soon as he has a trust, and he has a tremendous trust to his people, as you mentioned about Ostoja, he has a tremendous also trust to me, and I feel that each and every day. And he knows that I'm doing that honestly, and I'm not trying to fool anybody, because if I'm trying to fool anybody, I'm fooling myself. So I'm going out there very prepared. I'm always into the situation that I'm asking from all my associates to be updated, to have the knowledge and to bring the knowledge. So it works again as a synergy. And I repeat again, I like that he's involved, means that he cares. And we always have a debate. We have the chat where we talk the 4 of us, the 5 of us with the GM, and we analyze the European market. Nice. You see that the moves we did, they were super fast. Am I right? We were one of the first teams that we signed significant players that
Yes.
many teams would have liked.
A lot
And
of
you won the battle of Micic.
Yeah.
A lot of teams wanted him.
Yeah, including that. But I'm saying about the
Okay.
early signings, which, as I said, we don't have that brand name that would have attract many. But the project, the way that Ofer represents that, it's important.
So, Coach, we're coming towards the end of the podcast, and there was a question I wrote at the beginning, but I feel like it's very only right to ask you this at the end. It's a very simple question. What is your mission as a coach in European basketball?
Wow. I don't know if I have a mission, but if you put it that way, I would be very proud when I see again, as I told you, like the basketball united under the same rules, many teams to participate to the highest level, many teams to produce young players, because it's very, very important to produce young players and to give them the floor to play. If I can influence the lives of young kids, of families, as I was being influenced by the generation we mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, and I was like looking at them the way, I was not envying them, but I was jealous in terms of, hey, why he succeeded, what he did. He put some more effort. He put some more reading. He put some more sleepless nights. I can do that. If he did that, why not me? I did not have all the background that I could have go and become a European champion or something, coming from the small village of Trikala, with my father and my mother fighting for bringing the bread to the table. I'm explaining to my daughter now, we're having lunch, and I said to my father, these new shoes of Pony that Nick Gallis is wearing, it costs this drachmas. He said, okay, how many you have? I said, okay, I have 400, but it costs 1,200. Okay, if you're gonna work another 15 days, maybe we can succeed. I'll give you another 200. And now, the kids, they say, okay, I want this Snickers, this Snickers, and this Snickers. They don't ask how much it costs.
Yeah, true.
So it's pretty much in the middle, the story. And if I can influence some of the kids to get into basketball, not especially to become the next stars, but to become the next generation, that they will know the rules and they will become a healthy spectators, that they're not going to create trouble, I'm going to be very, very happy. Because this summer, like maybe 15 days ago, I met one kid of 10 years old and then the other kid who was 9 years old, and they came to make a picture with me. And one who was a fan of PAOK and the other was fan of Saras. That's the rivalry in Thessaloniki. So I said, okay, when you grew up, now you're gonna go together to the games when they play PAOK and Aris, and you're gonna tease each other who is winning, but it stays over there. The friendship has to last. Basketball is just a game that, you want to win, but it doesn't have to divide you. It has to unite you under this. So if I can accomplish this, I will be very happy to know, as I met people in the street, say, we became fans of Panathinaikos because of that run you have had. So that's great.
Coach, last question. If one day you got to leave this earth, what do you want to be remembered for?
That, as I told you before, I want to leave that earth knowing that I was honest, I was fair. Unfortunately, I have broke the heart of many people out there, but I honestly apologize. I'm not perfect. I'm just a man as well. But I want to not having regrets. I want to live that life being full of giving back, because life gave me a lot. This great sports gave me a lot. Friendship, emotions, family, which is the most important. And I need to give back. And I'm super happy when I can be in this position to give back.
Coach,
Beautiful. Coach
thank you so
Itoudis,
much.
guys. Thank you so much.
It's a big pleasure.
Thank you, Coach.